Hello, Amy.
Hello,
How's it
Chad.
going?
Good. How are you?
Good. We've got a new setup.
Yeah.
So those who are watching on Spotify, they're gonna see a difference than what we've been doing. Um, we want to continue growing and mastering and getting better and improving. And this is our fourth or fifth episode. So
Right.
for us to figure out some things that we can change already, I think that's really huge.
That's all you. You are the master
So
with
previous
this
to
stuff.
this, you were sitting way over on the couch. I was sitting
Yeah.
here because we were having some echoing issues,
Right.
and I think we've resolved that.
The kitchen table has become our
We're actually having a
studio.
conversation with each other now instead of hollering across
It's
the
nice.
condo.
Oh,
Yeah,
you use the word holler. I like that.
yeah. So how was your week? How was your weekend?
My week was fabulous. Weekend was great. You were gone up north. That's what we say here in Michigan, up north. Yeah, and it was nice and quiet, and I got to rest a lot on Saturday, which is unusual. What about you?
Yeah, like you said, I was up north. So twice a year we go up and we put the dock in, we put the boat in. One of my good friends has a place up there, and
Right?
we'll go up there when we can. But I help them with that. I mean, the people you book up there, they never show up. So this was our weekend to go up and take the dock out so that the frozen ice doesn't take it down the river,
Right. It is cold here right now.
and then get the boat dropped off for
Hmm.
winterizing. So did that, played euchre, went to a couple breweries and tested a few different beers. It was a nice guys weekend.
Yeah, I love it. You
Yeah,
also had a haircut last week, yeah?
got a haircut,
I see like a lot more gray hairs.
a lot.
A lot.
I don't think they'll see it because I have my beauty filter on. And I think it blends it all together.
I
But
got my hair colored too. It's all good. No
well, it's
judgment.
interesting how that happens because they hide when my hair gets longer and a little bit thicker.
Hmm.
But when they're cut, all of my hairs, instead of being curly, go straight.
They
And
do.
so they just poke right out.
Yeah,
When we say a lot, there was a lot. There was
it
like
was.
50,
It's a big difference just from the last time you had your haircut,
like
which was what,
double.
4 or 5 weeks ago? That's crazy.
I try to go every 3 weeks, but
Yeah,
this one was a little bit longer.
it
So probably
was.
4 weeks. Yeah, maybe five.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So you ready to dive into it?
I am. We have
Okay.
a lot to cover today, and I want to go backwards a little bit to the podcast from last week, where I talked a little bit. We talked a little bit about visas, Colombian visas to be exact.
Right.
And so I went on to the Colombian Consulate's website.
Okay.
I pulled all of this straight off of there. Plus, Chad, you're going to put the link in for viewers. So if they are thinking about Colombia,
Yep.
at least it's an example maybe that they
It'll
can
just
go
the
by.
link will just be in the description, so
Great.
you should be able to see it as you're watching this on
Right.
Spotify, or if you found it on our website or wherever you found it, it should just be right in the description. Clickable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be looking at my screen for a lot of this because I don't want to screw this up.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I may have even misspoke on our last episode, so I'm glad you pulled all this so we can get the accurate information for folks. And
Right.
plus, now we know. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and our situation's a little bit different than most people. So if you are staying in Colombia for less than 90 days, you don't even need a visa.
Okay.
It is considered you're a tourist and you can come and, whatever. But when you go to this Colombian consulate website, make sure you guys are using Google Translate so that it translates for you because it is definitely all in Spanish. And definitely don't do any of this on your own. If you are going to fill out a visa application or anything, try to get with an immigration attorney or somebody that specializes in this because Spanish and English do not always translate
Directly.
directly.
Yeah.
And if you miss one word, right, one translation, it could mess up your entire application. And when they approve or deny, they get to do that at their leisure. So it could be a no and you're done and you're sitting there going, but I only missed one word. They're not going to care.
So Barbara could be having a bad day and you could get denied.
It could be.
So
It
make
could
sure
be.
all your T's are crossed and I's are dotted to make it
Yes,
as easy for them. There's no
definitely.
friction for them. Therefore, your chances of not causing an issue are much greater, right?
And even more than that, things in Latin America, I mean, across the board, they change often. So you want to make sure that you're keeping up to date on all of this stuff. And there's also, how far out you need to get this done. These are the things that an attorney or a specialist around this can really help you with.
It might depend on your reason for going too, right?
Absolutely.
If you're going over there to buy up a bunch of properties and turn them into Airbnbs, there might be some different things you have to do
There
than
is.
if you're going there to study.
Absolutely. Yep. And we're going to go over these pretty quickly. But I will tell you, there are 13 consulates through the United States: Atlanta, Chicago, DC, where you went, New York, California. We're going to be going to Chicago
Hopefully, December we get the
December,
call. We can plan it then. Yeah.
because there's two phases to what you did. There's your Colombian ID.
Yep.
And then there's also your passport, which you got, like you said, in like a week and a half or something like that. So the first visa is called a visitor visa. And then these are for like your short term, medium stay activities in Colombia. So it doesn't grant you temporary or permanent resident status, longer than 90 days, but less than 180. This is going to be like tourism, business, student, medical treatment, seasonal farm worker, religious events, volunteers. Digital nomad is under this. There are 6. We'll get to that in just a second, and I'll tell you how many countries actually do have the digital nomad visa available now to people, which is fantastic.
Okay, so when we hear people say, "Hey, I'm going to this country to help build a hospital for children," right? And that's less than 180 days. That's what this would qualify for, right?
Correct.
Because they're going to be there for between 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, and you can reapply, right? You can absolutely reapply for another however many days the visa specifies. But these digital nomad visas, this is where you can go in and work remotely. So, like you and I, we work remotely. So we do have to show them proof of how much money we bring in US dollars per month, right? So we
Okay.
do have to make sure this is why I say you really need an attorney or somebody that specializes in this stuff to be able to help you.
Plus, sometimes they change, right? So
And it does
digital
change,
nomad from earlier this year
right?
is not the same as it is now.
Yeah. So you can see, like, if you go onto this website, you can see so many different things that would be under the visitor visa, and that digital nomad visa is one of them.
Okay.
Then we have the migrant visa. So this is where I come in. I am the spouse of a Colombian national, which you are now. So I'm a permanent companion of a Colombian national mother. Oh, I'm not a permanent companion.
Other things.
I'm a
So yeah.
spouse, but there's other things that fall underneath that: mother or father of a Colombian national by adoption. So if you had been adopted in Colombia from the United States,
Mm,
right, your mother or father could become a Colombian national. If you are a refugee, a worker, partner, owner, independent professional. So I do believe that this also falls underneath purchasing property. So that's what would fall under the migrant visa. So for me, being a spouse of a Colombian national, it's valid for 3 years, and it allows my time, that 3 years, to go towards the resident visa status. So I have to hold that visa for 5 years. So only 3 years of that goes to that 5 years, and then I have to reapply for another 2. And then after that, and I hold that resident visa, then I can apply to be for Colombian citizenship if I want to. I don't have to, but if I ever wanted that, I have to follow all of these guidelines. And guess what? By the time this happens, it may change again. I don't know. But right now, this is what they have.
okay, so let me make sure I understand this properly. 3 years, and then you have to renew for at least another 2, totaling 5, and then you have to be on that for 2 years in order to become a citizen. So 7 years invested before you can go for. Okay,
For now.
for now, which I think is fair. If you've invested 7 years into a country, I think that's a
Right.
fair amount of. I don't know that I would want 2 years to be enough.
No.
I think it's good that there's a reapply,
Sure.
and you tier up, if you will,
Yeah.
to different credential
And like we
levels.
know kind of what's going on in Venezuela right now, like their dollar is worth nothing. There's a lot of Venezuelans coming into places like Colombia and other countries in Latin America. So you just never know. Latin America is kind of, I don't know, what's a good
Fluid.
word? No, it's
Dynamic,
no,
shifting.
shifting. There's a lot of the bureaucracy, a lot of that kind of stuff. It's, throughout the years. I mean, this is pretty well known. So, um, okay, so the last one is the resident visa,
Okay.
which is if I wanted to become a Colombian citizen, would be the last step for me. And this is for those who want to permanently reside in Colombia, and you have to meet specific requirements. So I don't want to give out like cost of these visas. Again, it's ever changing. So if I said something now and somebody listened to it, 2 or 3 months down the
Right.
road, it could be completely different. So, go check out the consulates of whatever Latin American country you are thinking about residing in for any amount of time, after 3 months. But for Colombia, we can speak specifically to this because we're living it right now.
I think one of the eye-opening things to me was that, in America, if you need to go and get you get married, you have to go and change your name.
Yeah.
There's a lot we can do by mail.
Mhm.
There's a few things you have to do in person. Like if you're getting a new passport, you have to go get your picture
Right.
taken, right?
Absolutely.
We can go to CVS to get our picture taken. To get a passport for Colombia, I had to go to Washington, D.C.,
Right.
or I could have gone to Chicago. So it's important, based on which country you're thinking about, know where your consulates are, because there's going to be costs attributed with those things. And I lucked out that it was only one visit. They took care of 2 steps in one visit.
Sure.
Had I not had my birth certificate information and I had to go through another process to get that, it could have been up to 3 trips that I
Right.
would have. And so when you think about that for traveling from Michigan to DC, and if you're coming out of pocket cash, you could invest $1,500 just in travel just to get those
Yeah.
first initial pieces done. So check on the country also, see where their consulates are, and add that into your budget when you're thinking about doing these, because
Yeah.
it can be a substantial amount just to get the first preliminary things taken care
Yeah.
of.
And last week, that was one of the things I did do last week was I updated my US passport
Right,
because I had to put my married name on that, because we're going to Colombia in February.
right.
So I had to make sure all of that was correct. And it was running to CVS, having a picture taken really quick, then running back to the post office, filling out this application, stapling this little picture on just right. It took 4 staples.
Wow.
Read it all, make sure it's all very accurate, and then you can't pay with a check.
Right. Certified funds, right? So
Yeah,
money
I mean,
order.
I'm sorry, you can't pay with a credit card. It's check or money order.
Right.
But then the money order costs money. So, but thank goodness I was able to get it all taken care of. And so I'm just waiting for that to come back. But there are a lot of costs involved depending on your level, what you want to do.
Right.
So please check out the websites and keep up to date with that. So yeah, I mean, that was just a quick trip down the visa lane.
Right. So what you have here on the notes is spouse of Colombian national for 3 years. So obtain your migrant visa. We talked about that. Reapply to extend it for another 2 years. That totals 5 years at that point. After completing your 5 years on the migrant visa, you can then apply for your resident visa, and you have to hold that for 2 years. And once you've held that for 2 years, so now we're 7 years invested,
Right.
now you have the opportunity to become eligible to apply, no guarantee, to become a citizen.
Yes.
Right.
But within all of that, Chad, there are all these requirements. Like it's not just check
Right.
this box. It is like all of this paperwork
And
that
nothing's guaranteed. You can still be rejected.
nothing is guaranteed. It's up or down. Like you just never know. So, but this is why I really stress having somebody that can help you.
Who does
It's
this every day?
yes, and
Yeah.
it's better, in my opinion, from all of the research that I've done, is to find a consulate here in the U.S., not in the country you're going to,
Right.
because there's a language barrier unless you speak that language fluently, which I don't. You want to be able to.
I was super fortunate that of the 5 people working, 4 of them spoke English at the consulate.
Right. Because they live here in the States.
Fortunate for me,
Sure.
should not be an expectation. So if you have a consulate in the U.S. for the country
Right.
you're going for, chances are it's going to be
Yeah.
a bilingual or multilingual person. But
Try to get as much done here in the States as possible.
yeah. And,
So.
it takes time. You have to have patience. And that jumps into our next
Yeah,
topic.
it sure does.
Where we're talking about patience, specifically Colombian time and then the American way, right?
Yeah. So we have Colombian time versus American promptness, navigating the dance of patience. So, when it comes to being on time, you and I we're pretty on time.
I'm like
I think.
precisely on time.
Wait
I
till
have
the
like
last
I have
minute.
like a 90-second. I just sent you a reel about that. I don't know if you saw it, but I've got a 1:30 appointment, and I work backwards to figure out what time do I have to wake up. And from the time I wake up to then, the entire world
Yeah.
revolves around that appointment. But I get there precisely on time.
You do. And speaking of reels, we will be sitting side by side and send each other a reel. It's hilarious. But yeah, so it's not like that in Colombia. Yeah. It is takes a while to get your food. Takes a while to get anything, really. And how are we going to navigate that? I don't know. I think we have to learn how to relax.
It's going to take some time.
It's a
for us
cultural
to-
difference for
yeah.
sure.
Well, we went to a concert the other night. We were waiting in line, and I think that was a test of your patience, right?
I was so annoyed. They only had one lady taking tickets or, issuing the tickets to
Well,
people.
the other thing was, so then they'd ask for your name to check the list, and then once they checked the list, they had to enter your name into the system
Yes.
to issue the ticket.
Yes.
So it was like a will call.
On a cell phone.
It was,
She was doing it all on a cell phone.
and this line, folks, the person who was recording the video for the show came out to record how long the line was. Like, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 people in front of us, and they were able to get through maybe one person. We were out there for an hour.
Yeah, it was bonkers. So, but that is the way it will probably be
Practice patience.
in Colombia. And I think that, we're going to talk about maybe some tips here later on,
Okay.
To help folks out. But, Hora, let me see if I can say this. Hora, I can't roll my R's. Hora Colombiana, which means Colombian time explained. So this is not just in Colombia. This is in Latin America across the board.
Okay.
While it may seem lax to us, it's definitely the norm there. So events, parties, gatherings. If somebody told us to be there at 6:00 for an event, probably is not going to start until like 8, right? If we're going to check out an apartment and we have a 10 a.m. appointment, if they show up, right, that may completely have to be rescheduled. And everything is done via WhatsApp there. So we have that already.
Which is essentially texting, but on an international
Absolutely.
level.
And you can call.
Allows you to text and call for
at no cost.
All different numbers, not area code specific. Like in the U.S., calling a non-U.S. number probably ends up on your bill, I'm sure.
For sure.
Yeah. So WhatsApp bypasses that by doing everything.
Yeah, but that is the preferred
data.
form of communication.
It was like that with Mexico too. When I was booking trips for Mexico,
Same.
everything I had to do was through WhatsApp, which is perfectly fine.
Absolutely.
It's just a little shift.
But that's where we would get the notice. I'm so sorry. Lo siento.
If we get the notice.
If we have to reschedule, something came up, and you just take it as is and you just, keep it moving. I think that us living here in the States, everything is now. Actually, we wanted it yesterday, and we have expectations. And I think we need to lower those. Not that that is a bad thing to do, but it is a much more relaxed feel there. So, yeah, we talked about like in the world of appointments much later.
We were just talking about time blocking, remember?
Oh, yeah.
And the reason that we even jumped into time blocking was because right now in America, our lives, the way we're shifting for our businesses, we have the requirements of we have to maximize every minute. And we have so much happening in our heads. How do we budget that on our calendars appropriately?
Right.
And so we do time blocking, but that's something that it's not that we have to get away from or not do. We just can't have the expectation, because I think of it now, it has to happen now.
Yeah.
It's that, okay, we thought about this cool idea or this cool place to go to, or we want to go do this. We have to know that it might not happen on our current timetable,
Right.
that there might be a different timetable that we have to cater to, and then become okay with that.
And I think sometimes it's because you and I know if we don't do it right then and there, we're going to forget about it.
Yeah.
And then the thought will be gone.
I just have to walk through a doorway and it's gone. Once I walk through a
Same.
doorway, anything I was thinking of, poof, gone.
Your
Erased.
little ADD brain for
Yeah.
sure. And so even though service might be a little slower, people in South America really appreciate family. They really appreciate friendships. And so food is a part of that time where they sit and they share and they relax and they laugh and they have a cocktail or a cerveza or whatever. That's beer.
Yeah. And
so all these different things, which really helps to calm us down, to relax us and just really enjoy life, which is what we're after. And as Americans, we always say that, right? I just want to slow down. I don't want to be on the hamster wheel.
Yeah. So
this is going to be a challenge for us, but I think in the end, it's going to be so much better.
So I know you have more stuff you want to get to, but just really quickly, prediction wise, I think the challenge for me is going to be working with American clients. So working on that timetable, but then almost being dictated by the culture of Colombia, because that's where we actually are. Right. So I am concerned that here I could say, okay, I've got 90 minutes. I can run out, grab something to eat, come back. That won't be the case before my next appointment. That may not be the case. That probably won't be the case. And so how do I change or navigate that? Because I will be catering to American clients when we're abroad. That's just who my client base is. Plus, if I make too many Colombian clients, the way taxes work is just to shift theirs, and we have to start looking into that as well.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's going to be my biggest challenge, is figuring out how to juggle two different mindsets and then come up with solutions that work for both parties without alienating anybody.
Right.
So that'll be interesting, and that's something you don't know until you get into it. I don't know. There's only so much preparing that I can do there.
Right. We're going to practice this when we're there for 7 or 8 days that we're going.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's really long enough. You think it is? We'll see.
I think it's long enough for a first round. If we have to do another one, we do another one. But I think that every single day is going to be work. We're going to be doing something, achieving something, documenting. It's going to be a very full
it will be full
schedule, but that leads into one of these things that you were talking about before, which you gotta leave gaps, right? You
do have to leave gaps. I wanted to just go back to something really, really quick. When we talk about the pros and the cons, while it may take longer to do things in Colombia or even in South America, there's such a personal touch. The país of people in Medellin, they're very warm, very loving, nice people. And we want to make those interactions memorable, right? So I think that's also going to be a pro of being able to make this change. We talked about the WhatsApp phenomenon. Please know some Spanish. Because they are going to send you a message in Spanish. You can use Google Translate, but try to take some Spanish lessons, right?
That could be exhausting, right? Get the message, copy, paste, and then you respond in Spanish. So then you have to respond, copy, paste back over.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very patient, though. I will say, from what I have heard and the people that I have spoken with that live in Colombia, they're very, very patient with expats like us coming in and not knowing the language. So, and it's also disrespectful. We've talked about that in a previous podcast as well. So, what was it you said earlier? You mentioned before we got into
your topic was buffer time. So if you set an appointment for 10 o'clock, you probably shouldn't set an 11 o'clock also, because that 10 o'clock might not show up till 11:30. So buffer time is something that I know you wanted to chat for. It's essentially just leaving yourself gaps of time in the event things don't go as precisely as you want to. And like you just mentioned, the chances of everything going exactly according to that timeline is probably not great. And we have to get used to that. So, just playing around with buffer time, figuring out, you know, when it comes to the grocery store, you'll begin to learn how long that
Mm,
process is. When you go to your favorite restaurant, how long does it actually take? And now you can start to restructure. Dinner for us might be 30 minutes at a restaurant. We try to make it 45, have a drink, relax, talk about our day. But by the time the chips and salsa are halfway done, our food's already here. We haven't finished our beverage because it's on to the
go, go,
next
go, on
turn
to the
and burn,
next.
right? And that is not the
Gosh,
case. It's not going to be the case
that
in
is a
Colombia.
shitty way to live. Really, this is how Americans
It's
were
efficient, it's
taught.
productive, but you're right. It's not the way to live.
But
It's not living,
at what cost?
right?
I think that can really hurt our bodies physically, emotionally, mentally.
In Spain, and other many other countries, they don't bring you your bill. You have to ask for it.
Oh
So
yeah,
if you sit there for 2 hours, they're not going to come up with a bill. You have to request it when it's time for you to leave,
right.
because the expectation is you are there for your just engaging and talking, and the meal is not just about eating; it's an entire experience.
Do you think we can put our cell phones down while at the dinner
No, I think
table?
we can because
Yeah,
I
you
think our
think?
timelines are going to change on w- with our buffer time. We're not going to say 30 minutes for a meal and we got an appointment at 6 o'clock. We're going to complete our appointments at 5 and just
Right.
be done and just
Yeah,
actually live, do what we want to do.
right. We can always people watch. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know that was a thing until I moved to Michigan like 24 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
Yeah. People
Um,
watching is a real thing and
it's great to use. That's a
it's fun.
time buffer there. So also adjusting to the pace. So when in Colombia, do as the Colombians do could be our mantra, right? I don't know. I don't know.
When in Rome, right?
Yeah, when in Rome, let it actually be beneficial. And allowing for more mindfulness and really appreciating the moment. I think when you and I got married, we made that pact with one another is to really make great memories and enjoy the second half of our life. And this is there's the squeaky toy happening with Sadie.
Just let her
So
do her
really,
thing.
really making this happen. So um real quick before we finish this podcast, I thought that well, you already did one of them. You did the buffer time.
Oh, did I steal one of your
You
tips?
did. You stole one of the
It
tips,
was a great
babe.
tip, though.
It's a great. I was like, where is he on this page? So when you find yourself waiting, we can always use it as an opportunity for immersion, right? Being in the present moment. And we're always looking at our watches here or look at phones. That's the big thing, right? Phones. People are walking down the sidewalk looking at their phones. My God, you're going to get hit.
Honestly, I'll probably switch to a flip phone.
No, no way.
Yeah, I'll
Oh,
probably switch to.
let's lay a bet out on the table right now, Mr. iPhone.
Let me tell you why, though, because this is gonna
Oh,
this is inspired by some
you
of the
can't
things.
use WhatsApp
This is
on a flip
well,
phone.
you can keep your smartphone.
Oh, okay.
This is inspired by. You're right. I might have to carry around something else, but I've for a long time liked the idea of using a phone as a phone, and I am
Mm,
highly addicted to the ability to have information accessible instantly. I'm just addicted to it. To be able
yeah.
to on the drive home yesterday from up north, about 3.5 hours, we were looking up bands and looking up when they started and when the album was released, and it was something that you couldn't do before. It was something
Mm,
you required to retain that information back in the 90s because there was no bank of information to look it up on the go, right? Remembering all your friends' phone numbers, you had to remember them or carry around a book where
yeah.
you put them down. And I'm not saying I'm going to get rid of my smartphone, but I think that along those lines of embracing all of that is slowing down and detaching from that instant access, instant gratification, because that is the American way.
It
We have to
is.
have it and we're addicted to it.
Right.
And if the internet goes out for 20 minutes, our whole lives crumble. And the reality is life goes on,
Yeah.
right? And I think that if we start to embrace in small ways like that, as I'm going to the cell phone store today to do some research on, new phones for us. But my point is that I think that's I think it's a pretty fair practice for detaching. And
Mm,
if we get there and we find that that culture allows for us to do that, maybe I still carry my computer with me, or carry a tablet where I'm able to just hop on Wi-Fi and take care of the things in a crunch.
Sure.
Um, but I don't know. I just don't know. Things, I mean, we're surrounded by technology right now. We have screens everywhere, and I love the idea of detaching from that and just living, just seeing, experiencing. And I think Colombia is going to give us a amazing opportunity to have that second chance there.
Yeah, we're like Medellin is in the middle of a jungle. It's like in a bowl. There's I can't remember the number of birds that they have there, but I've heard so many people talk about all these different birds, and it rains almost every day, but it's like these very brief showers, and then they kind of go away. Spring like weather all year long, 70s and 80s. Who doesn't love that,
Yeah,
right? Beautiful landscapes, the mountains, right? Just, I can't wait. I'm so excited. And there's always local music playing somewhere. So that's really, really awesome. And, we are about to book our Airbnb in Sabaneta, which is about 15 minutes south of Medellin. And we are
yeah,
going to take, a day trip or two to Medellin. But yeah, Sabaneta is smaller and very local.
yeah.
We're going to definitely be immersed. And so being able to carry, one of the tips is to carry a small notebook or something, just something to jot down. If you have your phone, obviously be careful, know your surroundings so that nobody's going to come and take that phone out of your hand. But take a picture, right? Make a note on your phone if you're more of a digital person, right? Just capturing these memories is going to be something pretty spectacular. So that's one of the things that you can do when you find yourself waiting, right? Just breathe
Right.
and take a look around. Lift your head up from the phone or whatever, and really engage in meaningful conversations. I don't think a lot of us know how to do that anymore.
Yeah. How's your day? Good. How was your day? Good. There's no meaning. There's not even accuracy or truthfulness in that. That's
Yeah.
just, meaningful.
What do you think that's going to do for our marriage?
I think we do a pretty good job of keeping ourselves in check. If one of us answers with "my day was fine," I think we kind of know that there's more to it than that.
Absolutely.
We don't really do a whole lot of um, fluff. We get we. I think that's something really great about us. Is we do have deep conversations, true conversations, relevant
When
conversations.
needed, when necessary.
Right, but we could sit down and start talking about something and go way down the rabbit hole on something.
Oh,
Like we just enjoy
famous rabbit
talking with each
hole
other.
moments.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, squirrel moments as well. So, and though, so another one of these is building relationships. Like it's not just transactional, which is what you were just basically talking about, and how a lot of relationships are like that now. Colombian culture is very relationship oriented. I'm super excited about that. I'm ready to hopefully make some friends when we go there, when we're there for longer than just a week, but we got to know the language. Right. We got to at least know how to pick words out, um, and somehow answer back in a way that they can semi understand us.
right.
But I think this is going to be really crucial if we ever chose to move there permanently way on down the road. Having those relationships is going to be really important to us. And you and I are really bad to just stay in the house. We only go out when we have to.
Yeah.
What's it going to be like living in a place where the weather's pretty,
I suspect being in that culture, we're going to enjoy going out more. Right now,
you
I don't
think?
think we enjoy going
Mm-mm.
out because going out for dinner, for instance, is almost just so structured and such a task. We're not really given the ability to enjoy as much as we'd like
Right.
to. We went to a concert. We were there for a purpose, realistically, right? We were there
Yeah.
because we wanted to support somebody, but it's not like we were just strolling down the street, heard some music, and popped in because we could.
Fifth Tavern down here off of Telegraph, you only get like an hour, I think an hour at the table. They make you leave. They will literally come to your
It's a
table
very busy place.
and
Yeah.
tell you to go.
Yeah. And that's one of the many, we have a huge list of things and the list
Right.
keeps growing, but one of the many things we're excited about being able to leave behind even part-time for now and really immerse ourselves in, I think the relationships that we create will be, um, true and more genuine.
I think so.
Um,
Not that we don't have great friendships here, because we absolutely do.
we
But
pick
it's,
and choose our
yeah,
circle
we
for
do.
sure.
We
And
absolutely
one of
do.
the credentials of being in our circle is you come from contribution. You're somebody who comes not with a selfish agenda. You come with a selfless mindset of, I genuinely like people. I'm there if they need us.
Right.
Right. The people who are not in our tight circle, they're not there for a reason. But I think our circle is going to grow because with a culture of people who want to build relationships and want to be there for the people around them,
Yeah.
um, I'm excited for that part too.
I'm so excited. Cultural anthropology was at one point going to be my major. I love learning about different cultures,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's any better way to learn about a culture than to immerse yourself in it. So, embracing the moment, that's a great tip. Plan that buffer time, right? There are other things to do. You know, you can listen to a podcast
Yeah.
while you're standing there waiting. You can
Read a book,
read a book. You can what?
but
Listen to music.
prepare for it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Almost expect that
Expect it.
nothing is going to happen precisely, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
fair. And when you can set that as, when you understand that part of it, you can prepare to not allow yourself to get to a frustrated point
Yeah.
because that's just the way things are. And I brought my book that I can catch up on, or the podcast I was halfway through. So
Yeah, we could go to Parque Sabaneta in Sabaneta, that beautiful park that I showed you in front of that gorgeous white church, right there in this Park Central. And we can just sit there and listen to conversations and try to pick out, words and learn. Like, there's just so many things to do.
yeah,
Uh, um, but building those relationships is also going to be key. So those are the 3 tips that we wanted to leave everybody with.
beautiful.
And babe, that is our podcast.
Love it.
That is it. Yeah, we did it.
Well, until next time,
Yes.
this is Chad and Amy Beyond the Desk.
Yeah. Beyond the desk. Have a good one.